Counseling relationship. The counseling relationship is foundational for effective mental health care, because when there is someone who is going to listen to us, you can always notice this. When you let somebody talk, a student talk, they'll say their problem, they'll think about all these solutions, and they will come to a solution that will be best suitable. So the relationship, the place to talk, place to have a non-judgmental environment is very important here. So as I was saying, the important characteristics that a counselor should have in a counselor-counselee relationship will be empathy, communication, being non-judgmental, sorry for the error, and flexibility, patience, positive regard, acceptance, awareness of diversity, confidentiality, collaboration, listening skills, multiculturalism, respect, trust, and warmth. All these are very important. We'll look at some of these crucial skills in the next module, but these are very important for the for maintaining the counselor-counselee relationship. So, what happens in a counselor-counselee relationship? For example, you're meeting somebody new, and you feel like, oh my God, this looks like my teacher from my grade school. That teacher was very mean to me, so I think this person will also be mean to me. So when a student or a client is feeling that towards a counselor, that is transference. But when the therapist is having a strong emotional reaction, for example, you're a teacher and there comes a student who looks like your sister or someone from your family, you will have that strong emotional reaction to them. You'll feel, okay, I have to take special care of this person because this person looks like my family member. So that is counter transference. It is therapist's strong emotional reaction to a client. These are the two things that usually happens in a counseling relationship that can affect the counseling relationship. For example, you will be partial to them. You'll be like, oh my God, this decision might be wrong, so I have to deviate them from this decision. So what happens, instead of them riding their life, you will be the one who will be doing that. So that is really wrong. Both these things should be avoided in a counseling relationship. So what can be done? You have to refer them to others counselors or someone else whom you trust can support them. So these two things should be avoided in a counseling relationship. So what is the counseling process? So counseling process has like these 5 steps, and the first step is the building a relationship. First you have to build a relationship with them. It is not you have to, they will be very, you cannot go and talk to a stranger about everything, right? So you will have a trustworthy relationship with the counselee, and later, only after establishing a relationship, you will have a problem assessment. And in that problem assessment, you will be like you will be inquiring about what are the issues, and if the issues need to be like, it need for standardized test to be there. And you will also, after that step, you will go to goal setting. So we have built a relationship, we have assessed what we need to work on, and we will set a goal on how we are going to achieve it. Then you will move to counseling interventions. Counseling interventions will use all the type of therapies, techniques, and tools to help them achieve that goal. So once in step 5 evaluation, you'll see whether the counselee has achieved that goal. They have overcome the problem they come in for. So that is the evaluation part. Termination or referral. If you are not able to complete that counseling session effectively, if you are not able to you will not direct them to solve their problem, then you can either terminate or refer. And what is the importance of termination is, I told you this before, you are all their teachers, you are not their counselors. Why? Because a counselee will tell intimate details with the counselors. It can be what happened in their childhood, in their home, in their work, in their part-time jobs. Anything can happen, and they will share it with the counselor. So for example, they have shared and they have overcome and they have set a goal, and they have overcome from their past traumas, and everything has happened. What happens with the counselor is, they will terminate that relationship and they won't meet again until the counselee needs something else. So, but as teachers, what will happen? Monday morning, you will be in the class, and the counselor will, and the student will be there. So that will, what will happen? That will remind them of their past, and they'll be like, okay, you will be there as a reminder there. So that is why you are not counselors to them. You are their teachers. You can support them and refer them to a counselor. So even my old HOD told me that she won't counsel people from their own families, because they have to meet them the next day. They have to be in their life. So if you want to be in a long lasting relationship or in a life of someone, don't be their counselor. Refer them to counseling to someone else. Okay, these are the 5 steps. The first is the relationship building, then the problem assessment, goal setting, counseling intervention, and evaluation, termination, or referral. So, what has happened in the assessment and counseling? So, what will happen is, the main thing is you have to know who is being tested, because you cannot use the same standardized test for adult or adolescent and child as the same. Only specific test that is fit for their issues and what the age or the category of the person. Then the standardized test, as I told you, you cannot do it. It is done by psychologists, because they'll be trained to conduct it. Your teachers will do the informal test. You will give those exams, tests, and assessments, right? Those are informal tests are given by classroom teacher. Standardized tests are given by psychologists. So what is the standardized test? It will have the reliability and validity. So reliability means it measures what it says it measures. For example, if it wants to measure the emotional intelligence, it will measure the emotional intelligence. And what is the validity? If you go and measure the same emotional intelligence after a year, it will be measuring the same thing. It will be valid even after so many years. So a standardized test will have both the reliability and the validity. So moving on, so I told you about the relationships, about counselor characteristics, etc. So what are the basic ethical principles? Because everything that needs professional assistance needs this. So what are the ethical principles? The first one is justice. The principle of justice says that counselor has the responsibility to be fair and impartial. You cannot be like impartial towards someone because of those counter transference and transference stuff I told you before. Justice is very important. And autonomy, that you have to respect the decisions of the counselee. You have to let them, they make their decisions, solve their own problems. You are not the one here for solving their problems. Then beneficence, what is that? You will, it is mean that you will contribute to the welfare of the client. For example, a counselor will be sharing intimate details in the counseling session. You should not make use of it for anything else, right? So beneficence is very important. You are there for their welfare, not for their harm. And confidentiality, that whatever the counselor tells to you, whatever the student tells to you, it is confidential. This is very important. This is where the trust is built. If a student tells you something and you go discuss it in a staff room, it actually takes the essence out of the support you're gonna provide to them. So don't share anything like that. Be confidential with the information you receive from them. So next is fidelity. This ethical principle requires counselors to respect the confidentiality. This is also similar to confidentiality, but it is like you have to do it. Then the informed consent. So whatever is happening, whatever is like, if you're taking some assessments, or you're gonna use some therapies or techniques, you have to inform them. So I'm gonna use this certain therapy. For example, ma'am told a transactional analysis. If you're gonna use that in your intervention session, you have to inform them. You have to tell them, this is what this is what we'll be doing. Are you okay with it? That is informed consent. It also protects the counselor at the time of ethical issues. Then competence. Competence is very important for a counselor. A marriage counselor shouldn't take up counseling for a trauma or addiction studies. So they have their own competence and own education and training and professional experience. They should focus on what they are competent in. A school counselor will focus on school counseling. A trauma counselor will focus on trauma counseling, a family counselor on family things. So they have their specific area of competence. So you should understand this before referring your students to someone. Moving on, teachers as counselor. You can support students who are struggling with personal issues. How can you do this? By fostering a supportive and non-judgmental environment. So we can do, what we can do is we can integrate counseling techniques into teaching. I will be discussing about the counseling skills in the next module. In that way you'll understand what are the counseling techniques you can do, insert into your teaching thing. And you can support students develop a holistic development. They need to be, the holistic development means they are physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially well in whatever is going on their life. So it is not that they shouldn't face those traumas, it is that they have the resilience to bounce back every time something happens. So that is holistic development. So you can refer to professional support whenever necessary. That is very important point, right? If even for small issues we cannot go to a counselor, it is only when it is necessary. If someone is not scoring well, that doesn't mean they need a counselor. Sometimes they need your support. So you need to be able to identify when it is necessary. It shouldn't be like you're labeling someone because of something that they are not satisfying your expectation. So refer to professional support only when it is necessary. Thank you all. Happy learning. This is the module 5 session. I hope you all enjoyed it.